I'm guest host Kurt Schlichter, senior columnist at townhall.com, retired United States Army colonel, former Los Angeles trial lawyer. I'm the author of the Kelly Turnbull books of conservative action novels and the new novel, American Apocalypse, the Second American Civil War. That's what I'm doing here. I want to ask you guys a question, okay? It's the eternal question, okay? What if they gave a shutdown and nobody came? Okay, nobody cares. All right, we've got our soldiers paid. That's great. Awesome. I love that. I was a soldier. I liked getting paid. I liked my troops getting paid. They needed it. They deserve it. The second assistant Xerox operator at the Department of Environmental and Perversion Studies, not so much. Don't care. Not at all. Let them decide to go work in the private sector. Not only is that economically efficient, that will also be hilarious because they expect you to actually perform in the private sector. So that would be quite a change for many of our government flunkies. Look, let's talk about polling. When this started, by about 15%, the American people, to the extent they cared at all, because they really don't care, were blaming the Republicans. They're saying it's a Republican shutdown. Now, objectively, it's the Democrats' shutdown because the Democrats are filibustering the continuing resolution. It'll keep the government going for a few more weeks till they can finish appropriations bills. Well, time has slipped into the future, and now they're down to about 4% advantage with about a 3.5% margin of error. So among the American people, to the extent that they care, and they don't seem to care very much, the Democrats are losing. How do I know that the Democrats are losing besides the polling? Well, I have been told by people who actually watch and pay attention to the regime media, because I don't. Like I avoid dog droppings on the sidewalk, I avoid our regime media. It's not covering the shutdown. Do you think it would be not covering the shutdown if it hurt Republicans? When it hurt Republicans, when Republicans back in the day, before they learned their lesson and decided to stop sticking their hands on the top of the stove, shut down the government, it was all over the place. It was 24/7. It was 24/7, all over the place. You know, Action News, get out there, Republican shutdown. Now, nothing now. Why not? Is it because because the regime media wants to help the Republicans? I don't think so. It's because they know it's hurting the Republicans or hurting the Democrats. How do you assess this? Because look, I went to the Army War College, okay? Admittedly, I got a degree in strategy. Admittedly, it was the party war colleges. You know, it was the Chico State of war colleges. But I still went there. I still like to think I know a little about strategy. What's the strategy here for Chuck Schumer besides to try to appear tough so AOC doesn't come in and primary him? What's his strategy? What's the exit strategy? How do you get out of this box canyon you've rode the whole posse into there, Chucky? You know? Do you ponder that while you're grilling the raw hamburgers that you put cheese on top of? Remember that picture? That's Chuck Schumer. That picture of him grilling raw hamburgers with the cheese already on top is the perfect summation of his strategic acumen as demonstrated in this event. It is a disaster. He doesn't know what he's doing. And you know, look, other people can say it better than me. Mike Johnson, cut number 1.
You saw it. CNN hosts the first socialist town hall where Bernie Sanders and AOC said the quiet parts out loud. They don't know what they want to end the shutdown. They couldn't provide a single viable solution for the mess that they themselves have gleefully created. And by the way, those are the real leaders of the Democrat Party. We all know it. AOC and Bernie. Good luck with that.
Well, look, look, the strategy appears to be to demand things you're never going to get. Mike Johnson again, number 2.
And so today marks yet another day of American families feeling the very real personal and economic strain of this reckless decision that our Democrat colleagues keep making. They want the United States government to remain closed. and they seem not to care about the pain that it's causing. They have offered no plan. They have offered no strategy. They have offered no common sense path forward for ending this situation. And so many of you have asked all of us, how will it end? We have no idea. It's up to the Democrats, and they have to decide it. And judging by their outrageous behavior, the Democrats appear perfectly happy to keep the political theater going while real people suffer.
Okay,
That's
let's move on. Let's see what look. What do the Democrats themselves have to say? Well, let's check in on John Fetterman, number 4.
Yeah, well, it's like that's why shutting the government is really what the Democratic Party wants to do. And I follow country, then party, and it's the wrong thing for the country in a period of chaos. I refuse to vote to shut our government down. I absolutely would love to have. I would love to have a conversation about extending the tax credits for health care. Absolutely. But I would remind everybody, too, this was designed by the Democratic Party to expire at the end of the year. This is not something taken by the Republicans. They were designed to expire. Now let's have a conversation to extend it and not shut our government down, and let's continue to have that.
Oh, wow. Well, what do regular people have to say? Cut number 7 from a CNN town hall with Caitlin Collins.
How do you think this shutdown reflects on Chuck Schumer's leadership?
Well, I think it reflects more on Mike Johnson's leadership and President Trump's leadership. This is a leadership which said it's okay to give well, how do you feel? You tell me. Think it's a good idea to give $1 trillion in tax breaks to the richest people in the country and then make massive cuts to health care for working class people?
I think Chuck Schumer has voted for continuing resolutions 13 times in the last 4 years, and he has the opportunity to vote for one again, but he's refusing to come to the table.
Well, I think...
Ouch! So let's see. You got a Democrat senator. You got some rando at a town hall. Well, let's see what CNBC with Joe Kernan has to say to Mark Astronaut Kelly, number 18. Oh, no, because it was comedy gold. It was comedy gold. Well, Hakeem Jeffries is having a normal one today, number 14.
House Republicans shut the government down. Then they ran out of town. And for the last 3 weeks, they're nowhere to be found.
Did he just rap? Oh, let's get we're going to go back to Hakeem because I've got to get him. He's busting rhymes at all times. So we're going to come back. But let's hear what
and only
Mark
one
Astronaut
person
Kelly had
and
to
the
say.
Democratic Party has broken with the ranks. It's like I don't understand it. It hasn't been working well for Democrats with Mamdani.
This is pretty simple. The government does not have to be shut down. It doesn't have to be shut down. We can
Senator,
fix this
now
here
you're just parsing,
in a matter of just a couple days. I mean, this could be easily solved by
go
sitting
past
down
cloture,
at the
to
table.
Get past 60. To get past 60, you need some Democrats to reopen the. That's what's going to have to happen, Senator. You close the government down because you're one point.
Okay. Now, we know how Chuck Schumer negotiates, not effectively. Let's see about Donald Trump negotiates. Remember, he negotiated this giant peace deal. The Palestinians, surprise, are being scumbags. Here's what he tweeted today. If Hamas continues to kill people in Gaza, which is not the deal being capitalized, we will have no choice but to go in and kill them. Thank you for your attention to this matter. That's how you negotiate. That's how you get things done. Chuck Schumer, he's going to roll over and surrender. He's going to give up. There he is. There's his stuff. Now, I want you to stick around for the next 2 segments because they're vitally important. I'm going to be joined by Major Israel Ben-Shtatit. He was an infantry major in the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, in the legendary Golani Brigade, their recon unit. He's elite. He fought these bastards in Gaza. I want you to hear his story. There's nobody in American media who is more supportive of Israel and its fight for the West, not only its own existence, but the existence of Western civilization, than Hugh Hewitt. And Hugh Hewitt talks to a lot of the big players, the ambassadors, the politicians, the prime ministers. I'm an infantryman. I want to talk to folks who are on the ground. And I had a chance, by coincidence, a very lucky coincidence, to meet someone exceptional who I want to spend a little time with here today, along with you. Major Israel Ben-Shitrit of the Israeli Defense Forces is touring America. He was wounded in action in Gaza. He's talking about his experiences to American audiences. Major Shitrit, welcome to the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Hi, good morning. It's a big honor to be in your show.
No, it's a big honor to have you and the folks you represent, because the feeling among most patriotic Americans, certainly among this audience, is that you folks are fighting a battle not just for yourselves, but for the entire West. You're out there for fighting for us, too, and it's very important for us to let you know and to pass on to your troops that America and American patriots back you 110%. Now, let's get a little of your background. Can you tell us a little about yourself?
Before I'm telling myself, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for the United States. Thank you for your support. We're feeling this support all over. The soldiers, the commanders, the citizens, the population in Israel, we're feeling your support. It's bringing us a big strength and big continuation that we know we're, no matter what, we continue the fight. So just about me, I'm father of 5, I'm 40 years old. In the regular, before the war, I was doing raising money for startups. And in October 7, we immediately, everyone jumped because we felt that something really bad happened in Israel. And we fighting 2 years. Unfortunately, I just fight 6 years because I got wounded. But if it is necessary, we will fight and fight again, because, like you said, this is a different level of war.
Well, let's dig into that. Now, let's talk about your job. You're a major in the IDF. What unit are you in, and what's your job?
I'm in the reserve. In Israel, there is a lot of reserve. I'm a head of a company. I'm responsible almost 100 soldier. Amazing, brave soldier from Brigada Golani Reserve. I think that everybody in the world needs to know, and knowing Golani, the best brigada we have in the IDF, brave soldier, brave commander. And over there, we're fighting at the start of the war, we're fighting at the north. And then we continue fighting and getting down to Gaza. My unit continued to Lebanon in Syria, but I was had another battle in the hospital.
Well, I think you're being a little modest there, Major. The Golani Brigade is world famous. It's well known. When you mentioned it, I recognized it instantly. And it's not just that you're in the Golani Brigade. You're in the recon unit. Let me see if I can pronounce it right. The Sayeret. Is that correct?
Yeah. We're it's called Alexandroni. The reserve is a bunch of guys that do the special units of Golani, Alexandroni. They're from the Sayeret and from the regular brigade. We're combined together in the reserve. We're doing the combination together between the special unit and the regular units, and it's became elite and the best of the soldier.
Well, let me explain it to the American audience. These are the badasses. These are tough hombres, very experienced, very well trained. They get the toughest missions. And as a company commander, in the American Army, we typically have captains as company commanders. British and Israeli and some other folks have majors. You're responsible for everything that your troops do or don't do as a company commander. You also were supported by other elements. It wasn't just infantrymen. You were there with a whole range of assets to fight within Gaza and up in Lebanon, correct?
You're right. You're absolutely right. What amazing how the IDF, there is something that I can't tell you, but things that I can tell you, how the IDF is very, very smart and wise. And how we work is just don't work only with the combat soldier. We work together with the tanks, the air forces, the engineering soldier, and then it became a different whole level of fighting. a very, very clever one, very unique one. And this is the power of the IDF, that we know, and to know to combine all the forces together, it's make a really different way of war.
In the American Army, we call that combined arms. As a commander, you have assets across the span of battlefield operating systems, which what it does is it exponentially increases your combat power. Now, let's talk first about what happened in Lebanon, because as a Golani Brigade, of course, you were your unit focuses, or at least originated in the Golan Heights, which was next to Syria and next to Lebanon. What did you guys do there early on in the war?
So early in the morning in October 7, we are really ready to fight from the south, but we had the information that probably Hezbollah is doing the same at the north. So we were very worried that if Hezbollah enter, and after 9 months, I guess, that Israel finally entered to Lebanon and the village, we saw that, and we know the history of Hezbollah, for the armed forces, if you mentioned them, we know they are much more expert and they have much more weapon and missiles than Hamas. So in October 7, what we concerned about it, that what happened in the south going to happen in the north. And the first thing that we did, without any order, without any command, we just jumped immediately to the north because we are very worried about Hezbollah. And after the wars in October 24 happened, so the Hezbollah, the Radwan forces that we captivity, they said that they saw that the Golani Brigade and all the soldiers jumped so fast, and they decided not to enter to Israel. And it's really safe. It's really safe. The North Village, the North cities, the really carry the fast jump that we did in October 7.
Well, for people who don't know, the Radwan is Hezbollah's version of special forces. They're the ones who would have gone into northern Israel on a mass killing spree. Okay, there's a lot more to come. We're going to keep Major Shitrit over into the next segment here on the Hugh Hewitt Show. We'll talk a little about what it's like to fight in Gaza against Hamas terrorists. We'll also talk about the effects on families, what it's like to be wounded, and what Major Shitrit sees for the future. It's my honor and privilege to continue my interview with Major Israel Ben Shitrit of the legendary IDF unit, the Golani Brigade, the recon company. We talked a little about what it was like to fight against the Hezbollah forces in the north, but later his unit was sent to the south, to Gaza. Major Shitrit, what was it like fighting Hamas terrorists in a complex urban environment?
Honestly, I can tell you that I remember we get through the fence that got Hamas entered from October 7. And you can imagine the feeling. You can imagine the feeling that you enter to bring back your brothers. This is our first priority, our first mission, that everybody know in Israel, every soldier, every commander know that the first priority is bring back our hostages. And we break through the fence that Hamas, those terrorists, those pure evil and monsters, are entered to the village and do rape and massacre, and we have a different holy mission, and this is the difference. So we entered to Gaza. I was starting with my unit in the Qatari neighborhood in Khan Yunis. It's called the Qatari neighborhood because they built this neighborhood, and I know that maybe your audience think that when we're talking about Gaza, it's a refugee tent and it's a very poor places. But when we entered the Qatari neighborhood, it was an expensive neighborhood. There was mall over there, gym, pool, and I can tell you, we can imagine, because every time you speak about Gaza, you think about the miserable, and now you see how they have such enrichment and such everything. So why they doing that? For what? Only from hate. Only from hate. So we entered the Qatari neighborhood, and our mission over there is to eliminate almost 100 soldier Nukba forces, find body hostages that he came to Israel in the last 2 days, Daniel Peretz, Captain Daniel Peretz, bring back his body. And we felt this is the first priority. This is such a holy mission. And every place we went and go and enter to houses, we're looking for information for the body of Daniel Peretz. And, you know, today, in these days, it's such a closer to see that his body came to Israel and his parents have a grave to be and can see their son with all the sorrow. And we're searching a lot of the hostages and information. And when we enter the Qatari neighborhood, each house that we enter, the first thing that we saw is the picture of the Mosque of Al-Aqsa, big picture in the enter of the house. And the second, in every houses, there was weapon, grenade, RPG, every houses. You move the bed, you see RPG. You move a kid's bed. When you see a poster of Dora, of Superman and Super Mario, you can see a weapon and grenade. You open the closet in the kitchen and you see bullets and evil, pure evil. I can tell you, it was crazy all over.
You were wounded in action. Can you tell us how that happened?
Yeah, day before, Hamas shoot 2 RPG, killed 2 soldiers, wounded 16. My mission is to find these terrorists that do this brutality action. And when I get out from the house, they shoot on me RPG. They miss me and they shoot on me AK-47. It was a difficult battle. Unfortunately, in this battle, my friend Nadav Cohen got killed. 4 got wounded in a critical condition. And in this attack, I know that I'm going to die there. There is no chance I'm going to be alive because they shoot on me everything you can imagine. But when I heard the shout of my soldier that asking for help and asking for evacuate, I know I'm going to die here in Khan Yunis, but my mission is to help him and save his life. And he saved my life, seriously. He saved my life because in those moments I was bleeding. In those moments that I feeling that I'm losing my life, I have a purpose. I have a target to save my friend's life, and it's also saved my life.
Well, Major Sheet, we're running out of time here on the Hugh Hewitt program. You're one thing I know you want to say. We only have about 15 seconds. I know you want to talk a little about the families. Like I said, we got about 15 seconds. What's the effect on Israeli families?
Israeli family is a hero. All Israel is a nation of heroes, not just the soldier, also the families, the community, the children. My small children are heroes. And I can say, before we will finish, thank you, United States. Thank you for your support. We're fighting not just for Israel, we're fighting also for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Major Shadri. You know, I'm a little different for guys you usually see on the Salem News Channel. I'm a son of Southern California, and I like my post-punk alternative rock, and I'm never gonna forget it. I'm also a retired colonel, and that last couple of segments with Major Ben Shidrit were very, very, very powerful. If you're a soldier, you understand what he was saying at a gut level. If you're an American, you can feel the gratitude. He began the interview thanking America. He ended the interview thanking America. We should be proud that we had the backs of Israel as Israel had civilization's back in this fight against 7th century barbarism. There's more you can do. The International Fellowship of Christian and Jews. Let me remind you of Hugh's campaign. It's over at hughhewitt.com. After 738 days, 20 living Israeli hostages have been released from captivity. Those killed will finally rest in peace beneath Israel's soil. Praise God. Our friends at the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews send their deepest gratitude for your prayers and support. Over the past 2 years, thanks to you, the fellowship provided millions of dollars in direct ongoing support for the hostages and their families. But now that the remaining former hostages, both living and fallen, have been returned or are in the process of returning, Donald Trump is, you may have seen him tweet, has made clear that they either return or the war's back on Hamas. Take note, govern yourself accordingly. Now that they're on the way to return, the road to restoration is going to be a long one. That's why the fellowship needs your help. Your gift today gives former hostages, their families, and Jews in need the medical care, life-saving essentials, and vital psychological support they need to heal from this trauma and begin a new chapter of hope and restoration. Today, your gift will be doubled, 2 times, doubled in impact thanks to a generous fellowship supporter. So now I'm asking you to make a donation today. Any amount, doesn't matter. Have your gift doubled. Call 800-429-1717. That's 1-800-429-1717. Or you can click on the IFCJ banner at hughhewitt.com. Got to help our friends overseas. Got to help ourselves at home. And that's why I'm so happy to talk to you about ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange Council. You can find them at alec.org/Hugh. Because Hugh's a big supporter. I hear he's going to go to their convention live, broadcast remotely with all the movers and shakers, but that's down the road. ALEC has released their landmark state labor policy rankings, states that work. I'm guessing California will probably be down at the bottom. This ALEC report ranks all 50 states by their commitment to worker freedom, economic mobility. Read the op-ed on the report. From right-to-work protection to occupational licensing reforms to laws that defend Janus rights, that's the right not to pay into communist union political activity funds, and to promote transparency in public sector bargaining. The report identifies those lawmakers clearing the path for upward mobility and where states continue to rely on coercive bureaucratic systems that stifle opportunity. As I said, California, see above. Top 5, Arizona, Utah, Georgia, Arkansas, Florida. Bottom 5, Alaska, Massachusetts, Oregon, New York, and Connecticut. Where's California? Are you saying, Alec, are you saying there's states worse than California? I'm literally shaking. To learn more about what's happening in your state and others and watch federalism in action, sign up for Alec's free weekly newsletter at alec.org/Hugh. It's a weekly free newsletter. Get all the info you need. And don't forget to check out how your state ranks in the country. Go to richstatespoorstates.com. That's richstatespoorstates.com. I've got to say, I'm still moved by Major Ben Shatit's what he had to say during those 2 segments. And I just met him by coincidence. It just happened. He's here on a tour in the United States talking to various groups, often at temples, about what's going on. And especially in the rehabilitation of the wounded. You know, he was in a wheelchair for a while. He's a very modest guy. The guy was shot 3 times by these terrorists. Okay, they put 3 bullets in him. They killed his friend. They wounded his soldiers. This guy's country has been through hell. But, you know, he wanted me to say something about the families. And this is very important because my family, I left my wife and a new daughter, 6 months old, and I went away to Kosovo for 16 months after 9/11, okay, as a reservist. Major Shatit is a reservist. He's out there doing high-tech stuff, and then he gets the call. He didn't even wait for the call. His guys form up and move out to northern Israel, protect the settlements up there from those Hezbollah terrorist scumbags. It's remarkable. I have been a listener to Hugh Hewitt for well over 20 years. I got to know Hugh. I invited him to my cavalry squadron's ball in 2007, and he came. He was our guest speaker, and that's when I got to know him. and he's always been a supporter. He's been a great voice for America and for Israel because our interests coincide. And don't listen. There are a lot of foolish people, many of them Republicans, saying foolish things about Israel. This fight that Israel's fighting now is our fight. And, you know, I'm glad that we have folks like Hugh Hewitt out there who understand that. And you, the audience, you understand that. This is our battle. And we're not giving money to Israel for Israel's defense. We're giving money to Israel for our defense. Because these monsters, these barbarians, these 7th century savages would rape and murder your family given the chance, the same way they did in Israel on October 7th. Don't give them the chance. It's time to defeat them. With heroes like Major Israel Ben Shatit, the West is going to stand up to them. But they need your support. So don't ever waver. Don't ever hesitate. Don't ever back down. That is the Replacements. More great music from guest host Kurt Schlichter here on the Salem News Channel, Salem Radio Network. Guest hosting for Hugh Hewitt. I like great bumper music. It's just, you know, it's relaxing, and it, I don't know, sometimes it annoys Dwayne, just a little bit.
I think the Replacements would sue you for calling their music relaxing.
They're drunk. They would lose the plating.
Okay.
You know, I've got all this text here to talk about PhDweightloss.com. You can call them at 864-644-1900. But I'd rather just talk to you about it, Dwayne, because, you know, it's been 2 years, and you are a mere slip of a Dwayne.
I've probably added back on, 10, 15 pounds since when the initial weight I lost. But it's maintainable. I mean, and if I feel like, I should probably drop about 5 pounds, I can go back on the program pretty seamlessly. It's a very adaptable program, and it's one where you learn the process along the way of what works for your system and how to kind of keep a regulator on it.
So you'd recommend people check out My PhD Weight Loss at myphdweightloss.com. That's 864-644-1900. And look, I mean, it's obviously worked. Let me ask you some other health benefits. Have you seen a difference in statins or in A1C? That's always a concern.
No, cholesterol's just fine.
Great.
My blood pressure actually kind of kicked down a little bit.
Nice.
From when it was at my peak. I'm no longer diabetes adjacent, I guess is what they like to say.
Diabetes adjacent. That's very diplomatic.
Yes.
That's Trump diplomatic.
I was getting to the point where I didn't have diabetes, but I was sure a good candidate for it. And if you stay in the program, you pretty much can regulate and counter a lot of those negative
fix
effects.
That.
Yeah.
Well, I came in here to the palatial studios and saw your bike, so you're getting some exercise too. So I guess you would recommend people check out myphdweightloss.com. Check out the program.
100%, absolutely.
What's that phone number again?
864-644-1900.
Excellent. Well, you know what? They'll, there's a special offer now. It looks like they'll include 80% of your food if you want it.
Ooh,
so
that's a good deal.
You can check that out at myphdweightloss.com, 864-644-1900.
Tell them Dwayne sent you.
I will tell them Dwayne sent me. And I don't do that. You know how you and Hugh have that play on the phone? I can't do that. It requires
cadence,
coordination.
Yeah, that cadence of coordination. I know that's hard for a military type.
Yeah, I'm not, I was a bad marcher also. I wasn't good at that.
But you wash cars really well.
I do. I'm one heck of a Simonizer. I've got another author here. He's a lot of things. You know him from National Review. You know him because he's been on here all the time. He even has his own nickname, The Indispensable. But he's also an author of the dangerous Click novels. It is Jim Garrity. Yeah. Who, for some reason, looks 10 years older than younger than I remember.
Well, I was going to say it's entirely optical illusions, but I'll take it, Kurt. It's very good to see you again. I know it's been a while. My lovely wife put up signs, or put up all the covers of my novels behind me. So
I was going to do that at my place too, but
ABS,
got around to it.
Kurt, always be selling. Always be, find out ways.
Oh, dude,
to
that's the story, isn't it? But
it is. I was going to say, you are a walking encyclopedia of acerbic snark, and I have loved not just the Wolverines reference in the Carrie Tundville series, the reference to in some dark dystopian future in which progressives have taken over half the country, the idea that J. Edgar Hoover is remembered as a bold, cross-dressing role model. It always just struck me as a stroke of genius. So I hope I hope life has been treating you well.
It has, and you're going to love number 9. There's a sequence where Kelly Turnbull sits down and watches TV. It's the Dennis Miller Mysteries, and Detective Dennis Miller makes a reference to the Starland Vocal Band. So you got that to look forward to. I'm very excited about it. I'm very excited about having you here because you are a Virginian. You are from the Commonwealth, and you can tell us what the heck's going on there with this race. It seems to have been upended after Jay Jones's penchant for murder and pedicide has been revealed from his texts.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie, Kurt, that this was not looking like a great year for Virginia Republicans. when the GOP has the White House, traditionally it's hard for them to win the gubernatorial race, the lieutenant governor's race, and the state attorney general's race. Those are the only ones that are on the ballot. You don't see a lot of ticket splitting. So generally, whichever party wins the governor's race has got a really good shot of doing it down ticket. Although a couple of years ago, Republicans did hold on with Bob McDonnell back after I'm sorry, before Obama was elected. So we're talking, a good 16 years ago. Look, Jay Jones and his comment, and my colleague Audrey Fahlberg at National Review with what I think is one of the political scoops of the year.
Amazing. I mean, congrats to her. Wow.
And look, it has changed that race. The polling in the state attorney general's race definitely looks closest. Jay Jones was the least well-known of the candidates, and honestly, I would say not particularly well-known, just kind of ended up as there. And so now this is the first thing most people know about him, is that he fantasized about Republican lawmakers getting shot in the head and watching their children die, and then emphatically insisting to a Republican colleague who was offended by it on this group text that, no, this is how you change people's minds and stuff like that. Jay Jones not only should not be state attorney general, he should not be allowed to operate heavy machinery. This is a man who probably deeply needs therapy, because you're not supposed to walk around with this much hatred in your heart. And this is, Abigail Spanberger doing a fascinating impression of a mannequin in the gubernatorial debate. This has definitely been a shot in the arm for Winsome Sears. Now, polling still has Spanberger ahead. I don't want to overstate this one. This is not something you could say, oh, Virginia Republicans have this thing won. But I think if you're a Virginia Republican, you look at this and you're like, okay, now we've got an argument against these guys. That right after the murder of Charlie Kirk, their own candidate says something like this. There are plenty of people who issued, I'd say, pro forma, criticisms of Jay Jones. But, there's like 8, 9, 10 million people in this state. There's 1 million people where I'm sitting in Fairfax County. They could find some other person to be their state attorney general candidate. And apparently it just never even crossed Democrats' minds that Jay Jones shouldn't be their nominee.
Well, it's it's baffling to me. I like my chief law enforcement officers to be against murder. That's a personal preference. It's
a high bar, Kurt.
I know,
you're
right?
asking the impossible.
I know, it's kooky. Do you have any opinions on what's happening in New Jersey? I know that you have some connections to the chemical waste state.
I grew up there, and for a long time, it felt like, this is the year New Jersey Republicans make a comeback. And other than 2 gubernatorial wins by Chris Christie, every statewide race has been won by the Democrats going back for almost an entire generation. Having said that, last time when Phil Murphy was running for his second term, everybody thought, New Jersey, it's Democrats, he's going to win easily. He won by the skin of his teeth last time. And so the tightening in the polls here with Mikey Sherrill, all of a sudden there's been nervousness. And it's interesting. Early in the summer, I was hearing Democrats saying, yeah, things are looking good. The first poll had Sherrill up by like 20 points. It's been a down and dirty, nasty race, lots of attack ads. So that's kind of standard issue for New Jersey. But look, cost of living in New Jersey is very high. Electricity rates are very high. You can only run your state by Democrats for so long before having really bad consequences. But Kurt, as a Californian, you don't know what that's like. You know, you have no idea what it's like to have Democrats mismanaging your state. You know?
Yeah. I mean, when your congressman's Ted Lieu.
My sympathies. That's rough.
Well, speaking of dealing the pain, Donald Trump had a great triumph this week, perhaps settling the Middle East peace problem that's plagued us for almost a century. He seems very protective of that. Let me read you a tweet he just sent out not too long ago. If Hamas continues to kill people in Gaza, which is not the deal is capitalized, we will have no choice but to go in and kill them. I thank you for your attention to this matter. Can you imagine anyone dumber than getting between Donald Trump and his arguably greatest foreign policy, maybe overall achievement of his presidency? I mean, do you want? That's like being between Chris Christie and a buffet.
Monday, indisputably, best day of Trump's second term. Maybe the best day of his 2 terms. And look, I think those of us who have any familiarity with the history of the Middle East know Hamas is the ultimate bad faith negotiator, and the odds of this working out exactly as planned are not great, and that there's always a chance that somebody's going to, break their word and things will go wrong. But getting the living hostages released to Israel, just by itself is a phenomenal accomplishment. I know the early reports that they'd only returned 4 of the dead bodies that they were supposed to, and it's understandable that Israel's going to be PO'd about that. But it generally sounds like Hamas has, put themselves into a corner where even the Arab world is like, guys, we're tired of dealing with your stuff. I know Hugh's not here, so I was tempted to use another S word, and you're the host, Kurt. But I think
I know where you're going.
Yeah, they're tired of dealing with Hamas's grief. Most of the Arab world had been slowly inching towards a behind-the-scenes greater cooperation with Israel, mostly out of concerns about Iran. You saw the Abraham Accords in Trump's first term or something like that. So most of the Arab world was not itching to see the massive bloodbath of October 7th. They were basically learning, there had been this kind of sea change of thinking in the Arab world of like, okay, we're never going to drive the Jews into the sea. We're never going to wipe Israel off the map. We might as well figure out how to live with them. And under the Abraham Accords, Trump says we can all make lots of money. Trump has this very realist mentality of it's not George W. Bush. Freedom is the yearning of every human heart. It's it's much more Regis Philbin. Who wants to be a millionaire? This very straightforward. Okay, we're going to stop fighting each other. We're going to put aside this ancient hatred, and we're all going to make money through trade with each other. And not every country in the Arab world was signing on to that, but I think a significant number of them were like, we've tried everything else. This looks like a pretty plausible alternative.
Well, we only have about 15, 20 seconds left, Jim Garrity. If you had to have somebody negotiate to buy a new car for you, would you rather have it be a a New York real estate developer like Donald Trump or a graduate of the Georgetown School of Foreign Policy?
I was going to say, who deserves credit, who I've been very critical of so far? Steve Witkoff, who in his early comments had said, Hamas duped me. I was really underwhelmed with his meetings with Putin. But here we are. Now, obviously, Kushner helped a lot. Obviously, this was a team effort, but they got the deal done when a lot of other folks had tried.
Thank you, Jim Garrity of National Review, co-founder of The Mom Wars, Bethany Mandel. You can follow her at Bethany Shondark on the Twitter machine. Hi, Bethany. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, too. They'll just let anyone guest host these days, huh?
Well, look, I don't know. I was a cavalry officer. I think I'm covering Hugh's right flank. Let me just say. And as an officer, I had a chance to talk to Major Israel Ben Shatit of the Golani Brigade's recon unit. You know what that means. You know how elite that is. And he was talking about close combat in Gaza today. It was very moving. He thanked America at the beginning, and he thanked America at the end of his 2 segments. Bethany, how do you feel about Trump's achievement in achieving this peace treaty and actually getting out the living hostages, which I had doubts right up until it actually happened?
I think it's nothing less than a miracle, honestly. I also had my doubts. I never believed that we would see especially the IDF soldiers that were taken, Nimrod Cohen and Matan Angrist. I didn't think that we would ever get them back. It was so moving to see these reunions, and they're from God. And I couldn't help but think back to this past summer when President Trump evaded death by bullet in his head by a miracle. And our shared friend Selena Zito wrote an incredible book about it, Butler, and in it he said, I think I was spared by God for a purpose, and I think this was the purpose, to bring peace to the Middle East. And all of the other conflicts he's already solved in the course of his 1 year in office.
Well, of course, we have Donald Trump. We had legions of graduates of the Georgetown School of Foreign Policy try and fail to solve the Mideast peace. I guess at Georgetown you learn that the way to win a negotiation is to horribly betray your friends and, in fact, your entire civilization. Not Donald Trump, the real estate developer. Let me give you a little taste of his negotiating technique today. I don't know if you saw his tweet. If Hamas continues to kill people in Gaza, which was not the deal capitalized, we will have no choice but to go in and kill them. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Wow.
It's my favorite thing he does. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Did I have a t-shirt made with that phrase on it and a B-2 bomber? Yes, I did. It's amazing. I'll tweet it after this segment. But it is, this is how you get things done. One of my favorite memes about, the course of the last week and a half was there was a picture of Obama on the phone and he's negotiating with terrorists, and the terrorists say, we're going to blow stuff up. And Obama says, let's negotiate. Same picture, same everything with Biden. We're going to blow stuff up. Let's negotiate. And then the third picture, the third row is Trump. And he says, I'm going to blow stuff up. And the terrorists respond, let's negotiate. That is how it's done.
See, as they say, it's funny because it's true. But is it as remarkable to you as it is to me how utterly baffled our alleged elites are about human nature? It's like these guys never got into a fist fight before.
Yep.
Don't they?
Well, they did
how do you not understand?
They went to Georgetown.
Well, yes, and it's pathetic, and I think we need that to be I think we need that to be, and I'm entirely serious when I say it needs to be a prerequisite to have kicked somebody's butt and had your own butt kicked. To have a position of power. Now, you look at some, let me shift it a little, you look at some of the ridiculous folks who were making stupid comments on their stupid Telegram chat, embarrassing the movement, allowing Democrats a chance to distract, and a lot of those guys looked like they've never done anything but belly up to the Golden Corral.
No, they're a bunch of edgelords who clearly have, done nothing but drink milkshakes and eat cheeseburgers for the last 15 years. And they're not even kids. Like, I really resent the deflection that a lot of conservatives are, oh, well, this is just a bunch of college kids. No, that's a fat 30-year-old man who really should know better, and he doesn't. But they're nobodies in the shape of this movement. You would never know them from Adam. It's young Republicans in Kansas or like the Jeopardy chair in New York. I don't care who these people are. You know who I care about is Jay Jones running for AG in Virginia. That's who I care about.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're famously a mom. I think you're on your 73rd kid. And this guy, look, maybe you don't know this about me, but I'm not the most sensitive cat.
Really?
But this guy's, yeah, I know, right? This guy's talking about kids being murdered in front of their mom so she'll agree with his policies. That's sociopathic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's sociopathic. I mean, no one who talks like that, either on the right or the left, should have access to power. And thankfully, the right, the folks who were talking this way, are marginalized. They're nobodies. They'll forever always be nobodies, but they have so little common sense judgment that's where they've relegated themselves to the dustbins of history, and no one will remember their names 4 days from now. But Jay Jones, on the other hand, he's going to be the AG in Virginia, or he would have been until these texts came out, and all of a sudden now he's probably going to lose, and rightfully so, but not because Democrats have denounced him, not because he's pulled out of the race, but because the people of Virginia are telling pollsters, oh, I don't know about that. Maybe not.
Well, I mean, and you look at the Abigail Span Asperger Bot 2000. As she's sitting there staring straight ahead as Winsome Sears is talking about this guy who wants to murder children or watch children being murdered, wants to murder their political opponents. But also as she's basically, well, I don't mind if a male sex offender comes in and commits the sin of Onan in front of your daughter in a locker room. I mean, and she's just sitting there, staring straight ahead. How do you vote for something like that, even if you're so SSRI-ridden, washed down with Okie Chardonnay that you have one of those hate has no home here signs in front of your house and you're voting for this monster?
I mean, you've really hit the nail on the head. The person that you're describing in Northern Virginia, the woman, sorry, everyone, it's funny because it's true, she has decided that abortion is her holy grail and it's her religion. Ugh. And so anything that doesn't fit in that little circle is cast aside. So unfortunately, I mean, the polling doesn't look great for Winsome. It's definitely closing. It's definitely getting tighter, as it should. But women are inexplicably in large numbers in Virginia deciding they would rather have access to abortion than not allow a sex offender access to their locker room.
Well, look, I think the fight in the future, as much as I like fighting, is going to be female. I think it's going to be led by folks like Erica,
Allie Beth Stuckey.
Allie Beth Stuckey. I think it's going to be led by people like you, like my wife Irina, who's Cuban, and told me I don't have enough guns, which by any regular measure I do. But I think, look, the fight. The torch has to be taken up by the women. And I don't think a guy like me can be the face of that battle. I think it's got to be women like you.
Yeah, I agree. And we have to speak to women who are not voting appropriately, because women are more receptive to hearing from women, just like men are more receptive from hearing from men. But I mean, if you look at the voting patterns, men versus women, the issue is on my side of the aisle.
Well, thank you, Bethany Mandel. It's always great to talk to you. It's been far too long. How's your telephone stuff doing? Have you got your bill lately? Was it a little high? ConsumerCellular.com/Hugh. Let me ask you, you looked at your cell bill lately? How much data are you really using compared with how much you're paying for? Now, those hidden fees, surcharges, rate increases, they all add up. What about those, and they're picking your pocket is what they're doing. So be proactive in these times of uncertainty. It's time to check your bill and then check out Consumer Cellular, where you get savings without sacrifice. Takes about 20 minutes to switch. That's all. Right now, you'll get $25 off when you use promo code HUGH25. That's HUGH25. Or just call 1-800-411-4454. You can visit ConsumerCellular.com/Hugh. Do it right there. New customers even get a $5 credit on their first 5 monthly invoices. That's $50. Here's something my listeners of age 50 and older, like me, love. 2 unlimited lines for just $60. That's only $30 a line, unlimited. It's an easy way to better manage your cost of living and cut down on this essential expense. Don't wait. Get real savings, but without the sacrifice. Use promo code HUGH25 today or call 1-800-411-4454. Are you tired of paying a ton for gas? I am too. What's the answer? Unleash America's energy companies to do what they do best. The American Exploration and Production Council, AXPC.org. Look, Washington's broken permitting system is hurting families and America's energy security. With demand for reliable, affordable energy surging, now's the time to act. Without comprehensive, durable permitting reform, energy producers and infrastructure developers will continue to face red tape and endless litigation, delaying and derailing projects that could make energy prices more affordable, create jobs, and increase our competitiveness. What's not to like? The American Exploration and Production Council, AXPC, represents leading independent oil and gas producers and has a blueprint for Congress to fix the broken permitting system. Their plan modernizes outdated and weaponized permitting laws to make the process faster, more predictable, more consistent across all the agencies and industries. This is common sense reform, people, cutting bureaucracy, not environmental standards. Look, here's the real deal. American-made oil and natural gas will be essential to meet our growing energy demand. If we lead, we lower costs for families, secure high-paying jobs, and strengthen our national security. If we stall, our adversaries step in, and Americans pay the price with their wallets and in lost opportunity. Stakes couldn't be higher. Our economy and energy dominance depend on it. See the plan for yourself at axpc.org. That's axpc.org. Now, a little while ago, we just listened to Bethany Mandel, and we talked about the peace deal in Israel. But it's not over yet. There's still work to be done. Let me remind you about Hugh's campaign at hughhewitt.com for the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. After 738 terrible days, the 20 living Israeli hostages have been released from captivity. Those killed, some of them have been released already, and some of the bodies, well, they're going to be released to rest in peace beneath Israel's soil. Praise God for that. Our friends at the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews send their deepest gratitude for your prayers and support. Over the past 2 years, thanks to you, the fellowships provide millions of dollars in direct ongoing support for the hostages and their families. But now the remaining former hostages, both living and fallen, have returned. And the road to restoration is going to be a long one. That's why the fellowship needs your help. Your gift today gives former hostages, their families, and Jews in need the medical care, life-saving essentials, and vital psychological support they need to heal from trauma and begin a new chapter of hope and restoration. And today, your gift will be doubled in impact thanks to a generous fellowship supporter. So I'm asking you to make a donation today in any amount. You can call 800-492-1717. That's 800-492-1717. Or just click on the IFJC banner at hughhewitt.com. Donald Trump's out there. He has laid it down for the guys in Hamas who are playing games with the bodies of the Israelis. He says, this was not the deal. We will have, if you keep it up, we will have no choice but to go in and kill them. That's a quote. We will have no choice but to go in and kill them. That's Donald Trump negotiating. You probably ought to listen, guys. You probably ought to listen. I am a former trial lawyer, so I thought we'd talk a little law with my buddy Will Chamberlain. He's senior counsel at the Article 3 Project. You can follow him on Twitter, and I suggest you do because he's biting and acerbic. Follow him at Will Chamberlain. Hi, Will. Welcome to Hugh Hewitt.
Good to be with you.
Did you enjoy the VRA, the Voting Rights Act, arguments before the Supreme Court yesterday?
Yeah, I did. I enjoyed listening to Ketanji Brown Jackson get really, really angry because she knows that the VRA is not long for this world. And the meaning of that is that Republicans are going to gain something probably between 10 and 20 seats in the House. It's really ridiculous we haven't been able to do that. But it means that the left doesn't really have much in the way of gerrymandering to do. And so all these Democrat seats in these red states, they're just going to go away. And that's free money for Republicans.
Well, it was very interesting yesterday. And of course, the VRA basically had been interpreted as requiring that seats be distributed according to race. That only a black Democrat, because there are no VRA Republican seats, a black Democrat could represent black people, which is an interesting and hateful and disgusting notion. Didn't Ketanji Brown Jackson, didn't she say that essentially black people were disabled?
Yeah,
I didn't understand her argument.
And I think, to be as charitable as possible, it's really challenging in this case. She was making an argument, I think, about how the Americans with Disabilities Act is outcome focused, not intent focused, meaning that you look at whether or not disabled people have access, not whether there was an intent to discriminate against disabled people. And she felt like the logic should somehow apply in the voting rights context, meaning that if there's an outcome where there are insufficient numbers of black representatives, that needs to be treated as determinative of the legal result. So, but I think, but the analogy fails. She also ends up making this bizarre claim that black people are disabled as voters, which is also quite strange. Yeah, a lot of people in this country live with representatives they don't really like. That's sort of the way our country works. It's the way the House of Representatives works. I mean, you can go to California. I mean, Massachusetts is a good example of this. 40% of the population of Massachusetts votes Republican, and they get no representation in the House of Representatives, at least to their liking.
Well, look, my congressman's Ted Lieu. Does that make me disabled? Do I get better parking?
Yeah, I mean, maybe we should all we could go back to like a pure democracy or something. I guess I don't know, or maybe the most democratic thing we could do in this case then is just to go with whoever the president of the United States is and let him make the decisions. After all, he got the majority of the votes in the entire country, so that's the most purely democratic outcome here, right?
She's just not good at this, is she?
No.
The fact that she doesn't form powerful arguments. Look, I obviously didn't think much of Ruth Bader Ginsburg's jurisprudence, but she could form an argument, and people would have to react to it. I think Ketanji Brown Jackson makes it easy on the other justices, especially Amy Coney Barrett, who just basically said, "Nah, talk to the hand. I'm not even going to discuss your ridiculous argument." In a previous case,
I think she's doing a really bad job, actually, and I'm glad she's on the court for that reason. She brings disrepute to liberal jurisprudence. She makes it very easy for the conservatives to stick together, as opposed to trying to make arguments that might persuade the conservative justices that maybe she has the better of the argument one time or another. She just insults them. That's her default move, is to write this scathing dissent that ignores the precedent, and it ends up getting slapped down by the majority opinion.
Well, lately we've seen a lot of very uppity district court judges deciding that they should be president, including taking over the powers of the commander-in-chief to deploy the military, which I thought was interesting. Since they can't get an injunction against the president, they're actually creating injunctions where they order military officers not to follow their chain of command, which is an interesting idea. But now that's still happening, but it seems to me it's happening less. Do you think the slapdowns from the Supreme Court have had any effect in slowing down some of this left-wing nonsense?
A little bit, but not much. You still have some pretty wild injunctions coming from various places, and especially the First Circuit. It's not clear that the First Circuit needs to continue to exist in its current form, given that we've had in so many. I think it's something like the people who are challenging the administration have won 2/3 of their cases when asking for injunctions, of all things. And every time that a First Circuit injunction has gone to the Supreme Court, it's gotten struck down. You even had the one case where the judge tried to enjoin, essentially, I think it was an Alien Enemies Act case or a deportation case, and the Supreme Court struck it down. And then that same judge tried to say, well, you may have struck down the injunction, but you didn't strike down the remedial order. So the remedial order is still in effect. And the Supreme Court had to tell him 2 days later, no, we meant what we said. Your injunction was unlawful. It can't be enforced.
It's kind of ridiculous. But it's going to take time to fix. And at the Article 3 Project, you guys are hyper-focused on confirming quality judges who aren't drooling half-wits. How's that going? Do we have a lot of vacancies? Do we have a lot of openings? Do we anticipate a lot of them?
We don't have a huge number of vacancies. And we're filling the ones we do have. Something that helped a lot, I think, is it's not just for the judicial backlog, but there was this huge backlog of executive branch appointments, and the Senate changed the rules so they could confirm them en masse, which is a good thing. It frees up the Senate's time for judicial nominees, and we've already gotten some excellent ones. I think the best of the bunch is M.L. Bovee, President Trump's former lawyer, who's also a brilliant guy and a solid rock-ribbed based conservative. So I think he's really going to do great things in the Third Circuit. We're very happy about his confirmation.
Do you think we'll be able to? We have about 30 seconds left. Do you think we're likely to be able to actually flip any of these circuits, like the dreaded Ninth Circuit, which I've argued before, and have the mental
give us enough
scars
time over the next 4 years, especially if Vance wins. Yes, we will flip some of these circuits. The Third Circuit is already very close, and we're almost.
If we have President Vance, it's party time.
Yes,
well,
sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Will Chamberlain of the Article 3 Project. Follow him at Will Chamberlain. He is amusing and vicious, just the way we like it on the Hugh Hewitt Show. Americans for Free Markets. for freemarkets.com. Look, under the Obama and Biden administrations, regulators pressured banks to close accounts for industries and individuals they didn't like. These politically motivated debanking maneuvers trampled on the freedom of American businesses and citizens, putting government in the business of punishing people it disagreed with. Thankfully, President Trump is taking decisive action to stop this abuse. His executive order calls out regulators who abuse their power and makes clear that debanking must end once and for all. But lasting reform requires more than one order. It requires Congress to act. That's why Americans for Free Markets is thanking President Trump for standing up for freedom and urging Congress to follow his lead. Together, they can establish a national fair access standard to prevent services from being denied based on political, social, or religious views. This will bring clarity, consistency, and long overdue accountability to financial regulation. To protect the financial freedom of every American, Congress must build on President Trump's leadership, update outdated laws, and codify his executive order. Americans for Free Markets is calling on Congress to ensure the abuse of power can never happen again. Learn more at freemarkets.com. That's freemarkets.com. Do you like to cook? I like to cook. I like to cook a lot. I like to roast things. Nothing better than Best Hot Grill. I've used one. Go to besthotgrill.com. You've heard Hugh talk about the good folks at besthotgrill.com, and they also make best gas logs for your fireplace. If you're still burning wood or your old gas log's overdue for a makeover, Rasmussen Gas Logs has a new look for you. They've got a bunch of finishes, detailed bark, fresh split, weathered driftwood, white birch. For rooms with modern or contemporary design, don't use a rustic log set. Check out Rasmussen's popular fireballs to keep your fireplace's appearance in alignment with your room's decor, because you know there's nothing that Kurt Schlichter likes more than interior design. A fireplace is the focal point of every room, so if you want a Rasmussen gas log or set of fireballs that'll look great when the fireplace is off and even better when the flame is on, get a free personalized log set sizing recommendation and more information about U.S.-made Rasmussen gas logs and Solaire infrared grills. I've had one at besthotgrills.com. That's besthotgrills.com. American-made Rasmussen gas logs and Solaire infrared grills at besthotgrill.com. Dwayne, you roast meat on your Solaire grill, right?
Absolutely. Use that thing all the time. It gets redder faster than Nancy Pelosi's face when you ask her a J6 question.
Oh, wow! Redder than Ted Kennedy's nose on New Year's Day morning. That's red.
Yeah. It gets redder faster than Elizabeth Warren when J.D. Vance tweets her.
Happy Indigenous Peoples Day, Liz.
Yes.
Oh, my gosh. We're just having a great time here on the Hugh Hewitt Show. Wow, news is broken. It's a real pleasure for me to welcome a close personal friend back to the Hugh Hewitt Show. It's Michael Walsh. He is I don't know if you can see it. I'm holding up his book. A Rage to Conquer is his latest book. It is a good one. All his books are good ones. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Well, thank you, Colonel. It's a pleasure to be back with you so we can right some wrongs and bring light to the dark corners of America today.
Well, speaking of the dark corners of America, I wanted to I wanted to bring to your attention that John Bolton has been indicted. I'm not sure where. It's probably Eastern District of Virginia. Maybe it's Maryland. I don't think they'll indict him in D.C. if they can absolutely help him. 18 counts under the Espionage Act. It's unclear whether one of the accounts is a conspiracy with his mustache. But he's definitely in hot water after they did a search and apparently found some classified material. What's your reaction to not only the indictment of John Bolton, but the indictment of a variety of people who, in various ways, contributed to the lawfare against Donald Trump and conservatives in general?
Well, the left is painting this, of course, as Trump's revenge tour, Trump 2.0. But there wouldn't be any need for a revenge tour if there weren't Trump 1.0 and what we saw happen during the first administration, in which Trump and his team were repeatedly ambushed, almost from day one, actually, when you consider the setup of General Flynn by Vice President Pence, who will soon find himself in hot water over that. I think it's fairly safe to say. Bolton was not a great appointment. He's mostly a Fox News commentator. He had a brief stint at the United Nations, but it never really made much sense to me that someone of his particular persuasion, which is, I never met a war I didn't want to fight, would actually be the national security advisor. And it was no surprise to me that he was dismissed as quickly as he was. This is just what goes around comes around, and in part, it's the ghost of Florida all over again, of Trump's private residence at Mar-a-Lago, and it's also the settling of scores that needs to be done. And Kurt, you've been writing eloquently about this, that the left has to learn there are consequences to their actions, that they don't get a free shot at us and then cry uncle as soon as we decide we're going to punch back. So this is the finding out part of the program, and it's going to go on for a while, so they might as well get used to it.
Yeah, I find the whole idea, frankly, baffling, that somehow the left does things that are wrong, measurably and provably wrong. Well, I mean, he'll get his day in court, but let's assume, his mustache turns state's evidence on him and rats him out. But I don't understand a Republican Party or a conservative movement that puts aside the concept of righteous retribution. I always thought that, punishment for wrongdoing was a pretty key component of conservative human interaction. Were you there when they held the vote to get rid of retribution against wrongdoers? Because I must have skipped it.
No, but apparently it's part of our nation's justice system now, because just recently that poor kid who got beat up in Washington, so-called big balls from Doge, the judge let off his attackers, who were teenagers, boy and a girl, I believe, saying that her job wasn't to punish, but it was to rehabilitate. Now, when you've got a justice system who thinks it's in the rehabilitation business, you've got a real big problem. And so, again, we're finding out that the way to get the left's attention is to hold them to standards, and to hold them to standards we all share. Also, Kurt, you pointed out, they made the new rules, and that they weren't going to like the application of those rules to them when the worm turned. And now it's time for payback, literally. And so they better just get used to it.
Well, we saw Josh Shapiro's house was burned down by some pro-Palestinian creep. And it turns out that this guy got 25 to 50 years, which I think is appropriate for attempting to murder a family over politics. A creep who became transgender very conveniently gets 8 years for coming to murder Brett Kavanaugh because he is allegedly about to vote to overturn Roe versus Wade. He gets 8 years. And I'm baffled how the left can imagine that we're going to just sit back and allow this bizarre double standard. Have they ever met other human beings?
Well, they live in this strange feminized bubble in which playing nice is the highest virtue, as they expect to be treated. Now, within that feminized bubble, they're, of course, nasty, vicious, and backstabbing. But we've seen this time and again where they're like attack dogs who, when you suddenly turn on them, they hit the ground, roll over, and show their belly, begging you not to hurt them. And we had been preaching this from the first term, and now into the second, it's actually happening. As you know, Kurt, and our listeners probably don't, I was under consideration for various positions at the end of the first term of Donald Trump. One of them was the VOA, which I declined because I was not interested in going back into a newsroom. But others were unspecified Senate confirmation positions. But one of the things that someone said to me at that time, now this is back in 2020, that the president feels that he can get anybody to like him. And I thought that was a kind of misreading of the room, since if there's anyone who sorts situations out in black and white dichotomy. It's Donald Trump. And I think now the president is not concerned with getting everybody to like him. I think he's understood that fearing him is much more effective than liking him. And so a lot of this, which has come from all the advisors, very, very good team of advisors, some of them friends of you and me and people that we have in common, understand that the application of pain is a very, very encouraging and persuasive thing. And so this is what they are learning now.
Well, Michael Walsh, I've got your book here, A Rage to Conquer, and it is a fantastic book that everybody must get. If you're a man and you haven't read this, you're not really a man. Let me just throw it that way. But it embodies what you're talking about. Let me give you a tweet that Donald Trump sent today, 4 or 5 days after his giant successful peace deal. He said, if Hamas continues to kill people in Gaza, which was not the deal capitalized, we will have no choice but to go in and kill them. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Doesn't Donald Trump kind of hearken back to the ancient rulers, leaders, and legends that you discuss in A Rage to Conquer and your other books, like Last Stands?
Yes, he certainly does. Well, Kurt, you were in the Army. I grew up in the Marine Corps. And as you know, the Marines have a saying that came down from General Mattis: be kind, be nice, and have a plan to kill every single person you meet. And this disturbs the feminized left because it seems rude and violent. But of course, it is rude and violent. And it's how civilization progresses from the battles that I listed in Last Stands and in this sequel, A Rage to Conquer. Every one of these is a masculine-driven confrontation against an existential enemy. And as the Israelis still haven't quite learned, you cannot be nice to an existential enemy.
Well, Michael Walsh, author of A Rage to Conquer, which you must buy. John Bolton has been indicted in one of the district courts in Maryland for violations of the Espionage Act, 18 counts. That's not good, and that's like really bad. And we're going to talk more about it. But that accounts for the bumper music, Jailhouse Rock. It is a big deal, and it's bad news for John Bolton. His mustache was unavailable for comment. Now let's quickly pivot, because I want to tell you about the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. Let me remind you about this campaign at HughHewitt.com. After 778 days, 20 living Israeli hostages, and some of the bodies have been released from captivity, thank God. But our friends at the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews have a lot of work to do. They have a lot of work to do for those living and those fallen and their families now that they've returned, because the road to restoration is going to be a long one. That's why the fellowship needs your help. Your gift today gives former hostages, their families, and Jews in need the medical care, life-saving essentials, and vital psychological support they need to heal from the trauma and to begin a new chapter of hope and restoration. Today, your gift's going to be doubled. That's 2 times by a generous fellowship supporter. So you give $100, it becomes $200, you do twice the good. That's why I'm asking you today to make a donation in any amount. Have your gift doubled by calling 800-492-1717. That's 800-492-1717. Or you can click the IFJC banner at HughHewitt.com. The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. Please be generous and help out. Wow. Okay, I don't know what else to say. This is pretty incredible. I'm reading off a Fox News report. Ex-National Security Advisor John Bolton indicted for improper handling of classified documents by Brooks Singman and David Spunt on Fox News. They've done a great job reporting this, and they should get their credit. The documents that he had them in their house. They include top secret documents. Look, I'm a retired United States Army colonel. I know about classified material because I had to deal with it. And the idea that you might have this stuff just kind of laying around the pad is insane to me. It's doubly insane that you would have that after, Donald Trump's house was raided for it by the FBI. I mean, you would think, maybe it's a good time to get out the old shredderino. But no, because, John Bolton's smarter than everybody else and more arrogant, and now he is in a lot of trouble. A grand jury indictment is not a conviction. It is simply a bunch of citizens who get together and say, yes, you showed basic probable cause to proceed with a prosecution, and that's what's going to happen. This is ugly. Let me tell you about some of the kind of things that were found in these documents, okay? Intel about future attacks by an adversarial group in another country. A liaison partner sharing sensitive information with the U.S. intelligence community. And I'm reading this from the Singman and Spunt article from Fox News. Again, I want to give them credit because this is good reporting, the kind of quality reporting we need from the mainstream media. Intel on a foreign adversary planning a missile launch. Covert action in a foreign country that was related to sensitive governmental actions. It goes on and on. I could fill out the segment reading the topics this stuff covered. Okay, guys, this is bad. It is insane that he had this stuff outside of SCIF, a secure classified information facility. It is mind-boggling to me. If you are a military veteran, if you are a veteran of the intel services, you are likely to have your head spinning right now. I mean, it is beyond insane that this stuff would be in his possession. I mean, top secret material. When there's a spill that is top secret material or even secret material or confidential material, confidential being the lowest of the actual classified, there's some other designations, but everything stops. The brakes get hit. It comes to a screeching halt. And it's investigated. It's cleaned up. They make sure there's no further stuff. It is a big deal. How the hell do you get this stuff? How the hell do you email it to people? He was emailing this stuff. It's insane to me. Now don't say, well, Donald Trump did the shit. Donald Trump was an ex-president who could declassify stuff and was surrounded by Secret Service agents. And he wasn't emailing anything, okay? The stuff Donald Trump had was justified. The prosecution of him was ridiculous. And of course, it was ridiculous not to deal with Biden, who had a bunch of classified material parked out in the garage by his Chevy, where Hunter Biden was. And of course, Hunter Biden was, Hunter Biden. In any case, I got to tell you, this is a big deal. And we keep hearing, well, there's two systems. Yeah, Donald Trump's just retaliating. First of all, I don't care if he's retaliating. My question is, well, gosh, what's he retaliating for? If this is revenge, what's the revenge for? What's the revenge for, guys? Well, Trump bad, also transphobe. No. What's the revenge for? If it's revenge, what's the revenge for? I don't mind righteous retribution. I don't mind in a situation where prosecutorial discretion would often have said, I'm not going to bring this charge against, say, Letitia James. I'm not going to do it because, of what it does to the political system. Well, that changed with Donald Trump. They decided they were going to prosecute him for nonsense. What Donald Trump's Department of Justice is properly doing, following the proper direction by the chief executive, who's Donald Trump. Donald Trump has every right to direct the Department of Justice. It's not an independent agency. It works for the guy, you and I, and 80 million other Americans elected. It is perfectly proper for them to follow his priorities. And the priority should be demonstrating that lawfare has consequences. If you don't want lawfare, don't start a legal war. Okay, Comey did, and he's dirty. Letitia James did, and he's dirty. And John Bolton did, and he's dirty. And the only thing I'm sad about, the collateral damage to be suffered by his mustache, which I believe is innocent. As we continue discussing the indictment of John Bolton on 18 counts in the District Court of the state of Maryland. Of course, they would bring it in Maryland rather than Washington, D.C. Maryland you have a better pool of jurors who aren't reflexive Democrat functionaries, as we've seen in past cases. This is really serious, folks. We've got he's been indicted, 18 counts. I think 8 of them are transmission of national defense information, 18 USC 793, and 10 of retention of national defense information, 18 U.S. Code 793C. It's ugly. The stuff inside the indictment is damning. Everything from top secret to secret to confidential information, over 1,000 pages of documents. Apparently, he was emailing to people who had no business receiving it, uncleared individuals. They may include his wife and daughter. And I've got to ask, how did this happen? This is a guy, and Twitter, the X, if you look at the timeline, it's full of people going back and showing John Bolton talking about, well, Donald Trump should have, him and his classified information. Donald Trump was an ex-president. He could have whatever he wanted. It was utterly inappropriate to prosecute him. This guy, though, who writes books, makes a lot of money talking, is on TV all the time, no business having classified material in his house. It's one of those things where steam comes out of your ears if you've been a military guy or you've worked in the intelligence or foreign service community and dealt with classified information, that this guy would do these things. You don't. I don't know how to explain it any clearer. You don't screw around with classified material. You don't take it home. You don't slip it in your pocket. You don't take a file, put it in your briefcase, take it home, and just kind of, by accident, have 1,000 pages of document. You don't email it. In the previous segment, we read some of the things, the subjects discovered. Let me read a couple others. A direct statement collected via intelligence sources and methods on a foreign country. A foreign country's intelligence describing an adversary's planned attack on a facility. Sensitive sources and methods used to collect intelligence on a foreign country. A covert action. And sources and methods used. Intelligence on a covert action planned by the U.S. government. This is insane, people. Okay, well, Pete Hegseth said something on Signal. Pete Hegseth can talk on a system that has been widely used by the military community to connect in general terms. Okay, this isn't stealing documents. That's apparently what these is. Of course, he obviously has a right to a trial. He disputes some of this. Apparently, he's going to surrender tomorrow. You'll note that the FBI didn't send in a SWAT team to grab him out in his jammies. Like they did Trump's political enemies. He's going to get the dignity of going down to Greenbelt, Maryland, and surrendering at the courthouse. And he has every right to defend himself. And if he's innocent, he should be found innocent. We are not about framing people. Okay? They were. Letitia James was about framing people. James Comey was about framing people. John Bolton was perfectly happy with other people framing Trump. We're not about framing people. We are not going to bear false witness. If what is said here is true, and I'm throwing that caveat in, not because I like James Bolton or John Bolton, I don't have anything against his mustache. Mustache is cool. Never had a problem with that. But the rest of John Bolton I can do without. The problem with John Bolton, we're not looking to frame the guy. We're looking for righteous retribution. We are looking for wrongdoers being punished. There's nothing wrong with that. And the idea that we are somehow morally obligated to allow these things to pass for no other reason than they tried to screw over Donald Trump. That's literally their argument. Well, you're weaponizing. This is revenge for you trying to screw over Donald Trump. Oh, so you get a free pass on loan applications? If me or you falsified our loan application, FBI found out about, we'd be indicted. There's zero question. James Comey, if you or I lied to the feds, James Comey would be the first to prosecute you. And of course, John Bolton, his statements about classified material are out there in the public domain. Peruse them as you wish. We're not about framing people. We're not about going after people just to go after them. We're about punishing people who did wrong, punishing people who hurt our country, and reestablishing the norms. You want the new rules? Buddy, enjoy them. Of course, that's my next guest's favorite band, Husker Du, with their classic off the Zen Arcade album, Turn on the News. And we did turn on the news here at the Hugh Hewitt Show, and we found out that John Bolton had been indicted on 18 counts related to classified material. Senator Talent, welcome to the Hugh Hewitt Show. What's your reaction to this revelation?
Well, I regret it for John on a personal level. I've worked with him in a number of different capacities. But if these allegations are true, they needed to bring the prosecution. I mean, this isn't like accidentally stuffing a hard copy of a classified document in your briefcase and then discovering it back in your office. He seems to have, if the indictment is true, he seems to have pretty systematically misused classified information. And Kurt, I share your frustration at how people seem to think these rules don't matter. When I think of what I had to go through every time I got a classified briefing, and I got a lot of them, and how much I sweated trying to remember when I would do interviews, trying not to, reveal information that I had gotten when I was talking about subjects, just to stick to open source stuff, and most of my stuff, Kurt, would have been details relating to weapon systems because I was on the HASC and the SAS. And then to see how people cavalierly treat it, I mean, it's terrible. And if it's true, the prosecution's a righteous one.
Well, we found out a little more about it, Senator Talent. Apparently, he was emailing it from his AOL account, which the Iranians hacked.
Well, yes. I mean, yeah, the Iranians are going to hack it. I mean, they hacked the secure lines. I mean, I don't really trust those either. And this is exactly why you're supposed to follow the protocols. And again, to your listeners, I mean, when you have to go to a SCIF, a secure compartmentalized information facility. If hard copy material is distributed, you have to give it back. If you take notes, you have to leave it in the SCIF. And what's the point of taking notes if you have to walk halfway across the Capitol every time you want to consult them? And of course, you don't put it on your regular internet, and you don't talk about it. I mean, when I think, and you probably know some people who've served in our armed forces. There's a guy who took a picture of the inside of a submarine, and they prosecuted him. So, yeah, I mean, this is a real serious problem.
I don't understand how people, after Hillary's thing, I don't understand how people didn't get the hint and just not do it. Apparently, he didn't listen. Well, speaking of not listening, a lot of people warned Chuck Schumer that he was heading into an ambush in a box canyon with this shutdown. And the polls seem to indicate it's shifting in favor of the Republicans in the public perception. What's your assessment of the current state of the shutdown, and how does Schumer get out of this?
Well, that's always been the $64 question, and it's the problem with shutdowns because, and I've been involved in them 30 years ago. I was involved in the first one when I was in the House. It didn't end up too well, Kurt. The problem is you do it in part to show your base that you're fighting the political opponent, right? Now, the problem with that is if and when you have to cave, and eventually you probably do, you end up alienating everybody because your base is even more angry than they were in the first place because now you've caved. So I think this could go on for quite a while. Now, Dwayne and I talked about it on our podcast the other day, and I think it might be a good opportunity to pass a Senate rules change, using the nuclear option if you have to. That'd be a good rules change anyway. Just a rules change saying you can invoke cloture on a motion to pass a clean short-term CR that doesn't raise or lower the levels of spending. In other words, that would be pass a rules change that makes it clear the Senate minority cannot shut down the government. At least the past shutdowns have been congressional majorities doing it. So I don't know. I think Senator Thune might be able to get 51 votes in the Republican conference for that because, I mean, it's a problem when the government shuts down indefinitely and people are talking about the consequences.
Well, look, at some point, Schumer's going to have to back down because I don't think the Republicans are. I mean, it's like like when Cleavon Little put the gun to his head in Blazing Saddles. You're really going to tell the party of small government, threaten them by shutting down the government? Don't threaten me with a good time, guys.
I agree with you. To cave would be bad government as well as bad politics. Bad government because you're just if you're just going to get more of this then. See what I'm saying? In other words, the filibuster rules, and they're controversial. Most of our people like it, and there's certainly reasons for it. I mean, they're in the tradition of the Senate, but they're designed to allow you to shut down the Senate, not to shut down the government. Okay? And so I think we have a situation here like we had with the confirmations, where if Thune had not changed the rules, the executive branch could not have been staffed. Well, if we don't get a rules change here and Schumer won't back down, the government can't stay open. It's not a dispute over policy. It's a dispute over whether the government is going to be able to operate. So I think necessity is a pretty powerful motivation here. So we'll see what happens after their No Kings rally. But I don't think Thune can. I just don't see how the Republicans can allow this to continue indefinitely.
Do you think there's a lot of speculation about the incentives and the threats faced by Chuck Schumer? Do you believe the people who say that Chuck Schumer is doing this because he's terrified of AOC? Do you think that we got about 30 seconds left? Do you believe that's his motivation here?
Well, I think John Fetterman does. Didn't he say that?
He sure did.
I mean, Kurt, would you be shocked to find out that there are personal political motivations operating here?
I'd be shocked.
Look, given what I did for close to 30 years, I mean, I'm not going to judge anybody too harshly for that, but that doesn't mean we have to pretend it isn't happening either. You know what I mean? I think you're kind of silly if you don't allow that that's at least part of the motive. I doubt that Chuck just discovered he cares so much about Obamacare subsidies that he wants to do this,
Yeah,
he didn't do anything about it when he was the majority leader. I mean, he wasn't pushing them then. So,
well, that's sure true. Thank you, Senator Jim Talent of the Reagan Institute's chairman of their National Leadership Council. Follow him at Jim Talent. Well, it's been a lively day here on the Hugh Hewitt Show. Dwayne?
I love this job. So just during the break, I'm going to tape a podcast a little bit later, a Dwayne's World podcast, and I'll have some of this because it just happened and I didn't have time to be able to process for the show. There is video all over the place now of multiple times where John Bolton went on TV to say how much Donald Trump was in trouble for mishandling classified info. That didn't age really well.
No.
And then you remember Ken Delanian, Fusion GPT or Fusion Ken Delanian over on NBC News?
Yeah, he's a real winner.
Yeah, he's a real winner. He said, well, John Bolton says he didn't do anything wrong, and sure, it may be a solid case, but they're going to have a hard time proving intent because he didn't intend to have all those classified docs.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
But that's
good.
not what the law is.
Well, yeah, even if it was, one document shoved in between 50 other documents.
There were thousands.
Yeah.
There were thousands of pages.
Thousands that he's sending around on AOL.
He was at least a working theory is he had stored all this stuff because he was going to work on a book. So he wanted to profit off of it.
Well, he's going to have time to work on the book.
Yes, he's got lots of time.
I guess he's going to have to hand write it.
On the wall.
Just scrawl it in his own feces.
It doesn't look good. Yes, he will have his day in court.
Yeah,
I'm sure he's going to have an excuse.
I'm baffled. You would think that after Hillary, people would go, "Oh yeah, I got a little of that stuff lying around. Let me start deleting and shredding."
I keep hearing no one's above the law, right? Wasn't that the mantra for a long time?
That was the mantra for a long time, but apparently that's not so. Apparently, people People thought they were above the law, and then Donald Trump got elected again, which, yow.
It's
that's not good. Not good for them.
It's really not a good story for the left. And look, John Bolton has been a staunch conservative for a lot of different things, but he kind of turned anti-Trump and turned never Trump. And as soon as he turned never Trump, he became the darling of the left, didn't he?
I'm pretty excited about watching the liberals come together to defend John Bolton.
It's almost as surreal as the left celebrating Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney, as much as they hated them.
I find it bizarre. In any case, well, that's you can hear the replacements singing us out with "Can't Hardly Wait," one of their greatest songs. I'm going to be here tomorrow, aren't I?
We will continue this gig tomorrow.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here on the Hugh Hewitt Show.